Fucking with Trey.
Get that paper, told that Glock, that's how we live. Yeah, my life a game, I pray I don't get killed. They can't believe I got the guap, this shit for real. Can't accept the fact my brother gone, I wanna kill. Yeah, I can't go for that shit don't sit right. Instead of cabin to the old nigga, I know what you live like. Ain't worried about all just fuck these hoes and live life. I go on the drill, I'm smart enough, you gotta know how to kill.
BAROU was a prodigy from the moment that he could walk. A relentless storm of muscle, instinct, and pure domination. He won his first youth tournament at the age of 10, a hat trick in the finals. Crowned the Little King of Aki. Cameras flashed, coaches applauded, and BAROU lifted the trophy like a monarch claiming his throne. Watching from the sidelines, his younger brother, Isagi, smaller, quieter, less physically imposing, but with eyes that followed every moment of BAROU. That day had changed him. "Ni-chan, you're amazing." BAROU grinned, ruffling his hair. "Of course I am. I'm gonna rule Japan one day. You'll be there to see it, supporting me, won't you?" Isagi nodded with a smile so bright, it almost cracked his cheeks. From that moment on, he trained every day, not to surpass BAROU, but to stand beside him, to be the perfect support, the perfect little brother. Together, they became known around the neighborhood as a duo. BAROU, the unstoppable lion, and Isagi, the loyal wolf by his side. But perfection? No. Perfection never lasts. When Isagi was 12, the foundation of their family began to crack completely. Their father's affair detonated the home inside. Papers were signed, voices were raised, and tears were spilled. In the end, custody had split them up like a broken trophy. BAROU decided to stay with their father in the big house, the stable environment, in the path of football glory. Isagi left with their mother to a cramped apartment, part-time jobs, and the lights and electricity sometimes flickered in and out. Before they had left, BAROU looked at him. "Yoichi, come with us." Isagi then looked back to his mother as her voice began to tremble. Walking back towards her, he had turned to his brother just to say one thing, but BAROU had looked away, seeing that his younger brother's decision had already been made. "Sorry, I can't leave Dad. He'll invest into my training. I need to become the king. You understand that, don't you? This is much bigger than just choosing sides." It was logical. His reasoning. It was rational. And it shattered Isagi's heart. Yeah, I get it. But inside, something that day, it died. Isagi stopped seeing BAROU as the king, and then started seeing him as a goal that lied in front of him. Life with his mother, it was harsh. Money ran thin, and opportunities were scarce. But for Isagi, every disadvantage was fuel. He ran before sunrise. He practiced until his legs trembled. He shot goals at rusted nets, flickering under the streetlights. "I'll become better, stronger, sharper. I don't need anyone's throne. I'll build my own." He even changed position from midfielder to striker. "How do I surpass a lion?" he muttered to himself during one of those lonely training nights. "I hunt him. I become a predator myself." His arms would soon grow lean and defined, his legs thick with explosive power, his once gentle eyes sharpened with cold calculation. By the time middle school had arrived, Isagi wasn't the same shadow that followed BAROU. He was a storm waiting to break. BAROU became the ace of Ryuke Middle School, crushing perfectual defenders with monstrous strength and precision. Isagi, though, joined Seto Middle School, a no-name school with no budget No real coach, no expectations. Perfect. Expectations only create ceilings, and Isagi wasn't planning on stopping. His goal: defeat BAROU at the junior high innovational tournament. When the bracket was announced, Isagi felt electricity run through him. Seto versus Ryuke in the quarterfinals. Nichan, this time, I won't be cheering for you. I'm coming to break you down. Soon, match day arrived. The stadium, it was small, but it roared. BAROU stood tall, muscles carved like stone, a black aura radiating around him. Looking across the field, he soon saw his younger brother, finally walking towards him. Yoichi, don't embarrass me. BAROU smirked. You're still my weak little brother, right? Isagi didn't reply. He didn't need to. He'd let his skills do that for him. The whistle blew. Ryuke dominated instantly. Long passes to an aggressive tempo as they fed BAROU constantly. At the 14-minute mark, he bulldozed through 2 defenders and blasted a shot into the top corner. 1-0. He pointed at Isagi. You can't stop me. Remember your place. It'll always be below me. Isagi felt something inside him, twisting. Anger, yes, but also something different. Something you wouldn't expect. Clarity. The field began to slow down. Fragments of movements turned into patterns. This is beatable. It's predictable. Almost calculable. In the 28th minute, Seto stole the ball. Isagi sprinted forward. Seeing the defenders on BAROU's team shifting, he looks ahead. He sees the keeper. His weight is leaning, as if he's trying to predict the shot already. He sees passing lanes. They formed before they even existed. What is this? He then yells out, "Pass it now!" His teammates, obeying without even thinking. Isagi slips behind 2 defenders, slicing through the field like a blade. 1 touch, then a step left, then boom. The net rippled. A shot, a declaration of war. 1-1. BAROU's eyes widen. You bastard. The game continues, and even after the halftime marker at 26 minutes, BAROU struck again. A brutal solo goal. A near post-cannon shot, making the score 2-1. But Isagi didn't break. Instead, his vision, it began to sharpen more. Every movement had purpose. Every player was a variable on the pitch. Every second was a calculation. It wasn't instinct. It wasn't luck. It was something much more, barreling from deep inside Isagi. It was ego. Pure, overwhelming ego. I see it for myself. This formula for goals. The path to devour you, Nichan. It's here. At the 75th minute, a long ball from the midfield. Isagi calculated 4 defenders' paths instantly. He cut inside, looked around, then faked the shot, spun once again, and struck with his left foot. A wondrous goal that got the crowd electric. 2-2. BAROU snarled. Yoichi, your strength, it's beginning to piss me off. And here, as the game was ending, in the 89th minute, BAROU charged through the center, unstoppable, ego himself blazing. He smashed the final goal, 3-2. Ryuke wins. BAROU walked past him, victorious. This is the difference between a king and a stray dog, so know your place. But Isagi, here, he wasn't crying. He wasn't angry. He was smiling. A terrifying, confident smile. Thanks, Nichan. Now, I know exactly what I must become. Not your shadow, not your support, and not even your subject. His eyes began to glow with hunger. I'll become the one who devours the field, the one who calculates victory, the one who can destroy kings. And from that day on, a monster named Yoichi Isagi was truly born. By the time that Isagi had entered high school, his body had already transformed from years of grinding alone, had carved him into something frightening. Lean muscle, explosive acceleration, and eyes that analyze everything with cold, mathematical precision. Ichidan High wasn't known for football excellence, but the atmosphere, it suited him quite well. Quiet, overlooked, and hungry for someone to lead them. Trials were supposed to be 2 hours long, but for Isagi, they only lasted him 30 minutes. The players had formed 2 squads. Coaches sat down, watching lazily, expecting another year of mediocrity. Then, Isagi touched the ball. Tap. A gentle receive from another player. He touches it again with another tap, with a shift of weight. Then, flash. He bursted forward, outrunning 3 defenders in a blur. The coaches would sit up. What the? Who the heck is that kid? And what's that speed? Isagi didn't hear anything. His brain was already moving. The keeper's stance was wide. His right foot was planted, but it seemed that he was leaning more towards the left. Left corner. 60% chance. Top right corner. 75. He looked at the top right. It'll be a cleaner shot. He curved the ball with his foot. Bang! Top right. Upper 90. The net snapped like it was punched. Later down the line, another goal was scored by him. In 10 minutes, he had already scored 3 goals. Dribbling that made defenders dizzy. Feints so fluid, they looked like dancing. And finishing that cracked the air with power. One coach had muttered to himself, "This kid, he's played like he's been possessed." Another whispered back to him, "No, not possessed. It's almost mastery." At the end, the coach approached him. "Yoichi Isagi, right?" "Yes, sir." "Good. You've made the team. And we'll already be naming you a starter, effective immediately." There was no celebration from Isagi, just a quiet nod. Understood. Ichinan's season started off rocky only because his players were adjusting to the whirlwind that was Yoichi Isagi. He moved differently from everyone else. He studied games at night, like Messi, Prime Ronaldo, Henry. But no, Messi fascinated him. The way he glided, the way he broke ankles without effort, the way defenders feared his presence alone. Isagi, his coach had asked him one day while he sat and thought, "Who inspires your style?" Isagi didn't even look away or flinch. Messi. He plays like he's painting a field. Like each touch is a brushstroke of brilliance. That's the football. That's the football that I want to create. And he did just that. We'd flash to a game versus Minami Saida High School. And 20 minutes in, they're already down 0-1. Isagi. His teammate would pass the ball nervously. "Yoichi, do something." He exhaled. Pressure, spacing, defender weight distribution, and angles. All of this ran through his mind. Then he moved. A roulette spin around one, a nutmeg through the next defender, and then a sudden burst of speed to get to his position. Defenders yelling. No way he got through. The keeper rushed him, but Isagi didn't slow down. He's leaning left. So, he fakes a shot. The keeper dives. Fool. Isagi then drags back and chips it right over his head. 1-1 as the goal rolled into the net. The stadium roared. That was an electric goal, something solo, something that hadn't been seen before. But Isagi, he only whispered next, and 2 minutes later, he had scored again, curling a strike from outside the box. Then, later on, he scored a third, soloing 5 defenders, as Ichinan won 3-1. His teammates celebrated like they had won a World Cup or something like that. Isagi simply tied the knot in his boots tighter. "Why don't you ever smile?" the assistant coach asked. Isagi stared at the sky, expression cold. "I'm not done. Not until I surpass him. Not until my mother never struggles again." By mid-season, Ichinan shocked the region by qualifying for the national bracket. At a team meeting, the coach cleared his throat. "We need a new captain." And everyone already knew who it was meant to be. "Yoichi Isagi," the coach declared. "Lead us." Isagi blinked. "Me?" The coach had nodded, and so did the rest of the players. "You don't scream, you don't boast, but everyone follows your footsteps anyway. You're our spear." Isagi didn't smile. He only bowed his head. "I accept." This would begin their road to nationals. Isagi began to cement himself as a talent like no other. In a game against North Chiba High, Isagi executed a turn so quick it looked like he teleported to the defenders as they stumbled into each other. Did he just disappear? A shot rang out through their ears into a goal. Against Kanagawa Tech, Ichinan was cornered. Isagi intercepted a cross and sprinted the entire field, beating 4 defenders before scoring with a left-footed rocket. His teammates would look at him. "How did you do this?" Isagi would only look back. "If I don't score, we lose. And to me, losing isn't an option. Not again." Against Shirahorme High, Isagi's assist, a no-look heel flick through 2 defenders, became a district highlight. The announcers would ring out, "Yoichi Isagi, he's playing poetry." But to Isagi, this was all nothing. Soon time had passed, and the national championship was here. Ichinan High versus Masukage Kukukoa. The final match was played under bright winter lights. The stadium thundered with chants. Kukoa, Ichinan, commentators buzzed, saying that Masukage Kukoa is heavily favored in this match, but Ichinan's run may end here. But when Isagi stepped onto the field, the atmosphere, it shifted. His eyes were calm, cold, focused like no other. "Let's finish this. We didn't come all this way for nothing." 10 minutes into the game, Isagi received the ball at the edge of the box. 3 defenders closed in. His foot moved once, then twice. He pops it over, chipping it over their heads. The keeper had barely reacted, looking forward, but it was too late. The goal would already be running into the top corner. 1-0. The announcers then stand up out of their seats. Yoichi Isagi opens the final with pure art. His teammates began to roar. But Isagi was still focused. This game? No. He needed to make this a declaration because he knew someone was watching. Kukoa soon equalized. Isagi began to retaliate immediately. He sprinted through the center, his body tilting with predatory grace. A step over, then an elastico, next a feint. The announcers couldn't believe their eyes. He's through them all. He then blasted the ball with such precision that it curved around the keeper's fingertips into the top corner. Soon, another goal was scored to tie the game. Isagi stared at the ground, breathing slow. They pressed, left when panicked. The keeper, he favors low saves. And defender, number 5, has a late reaction to switches. He took the next possession. A single feint sent a defender sprawling. Then a low drive had followed. 3-2. Yoichi Isagi is not human, the commentators will begin to shout out. Final minutes of this game. Tension suffocated the stadium. Isagi received the ball in midfield, then accelerated. The world around him blurred. His teammates watched in awe as he danced through the defensive line, cutting, spinning, and weaving through an impossible control. He reached the box. Time truly began to slow down here for him. Top right, 89%. This shot, it ends it. He struck. Boom. Net explosion. 4-2. Ichinan High were national champions. The cameras began to swarm him. Isagi-san, how does it feel to be Japan's high school hero? What was going through your mind during that 4th goal? Do you see yourself going pro? Isagi looked at all of them, expression empty. I'm grateful, but I'm not satisfied. This isn't my end. It only marks the beginning. A reporter then asked, what drives you to that mindset? Isagi's eyes hardened. A promise. A future. Someone I have to support, and someone that I must surpass. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Japan, in a dimly lit training facility across the country, BAROU crushed the ball into a net with monstrous force. Again, he barked. His teammate then pointed at a TV. BAROU, isn't that your brother? BAROU turned, sweat dripping from his face, and on the screen, Isagi lifted the championship trophy. Calm, sharp eyes, unmoved. BAROU's jaw tightened. So you already made it this far, Yoichi. He smirked. Dark, proud, yet competitive. Don't get cocky. A king's throne isn't so easy to reach. Isagi returned home late that night. His mother would fall asleep quickly, but he had noticed there were envelopes on the table. Just one, marked, from the Football Union of Japan. He opened it, and inside, Isagi exhaled slowly. His heart pounded once. Then, he smiled. So, this is what lies ahead next. I wonder if you'll be there too, Nichan. The path to becoming the world's greatest striker will begin now. And I won't lose to you this time. 300 strikers stood inside the massive hall, their footsteps echoing nervous like heartbeats. Screens flickered on around them. And then in the cold blue light, no windows, no exits, just numbers. Soon a man had appeared. Jinpachi Ego stepped forward, hands in his pockets, eyes empty of any type of warmth. Welcome, he said flatly, to the beginning and the end, to Blue Lock. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ego didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Japan doesn't need teamwork, he continued. It doesn't need harmony. It doesn't need friendship. He tapped his foot on the floor with pace. Japan needs the world's greatest striker, as I aim to create that. Silence quickly filled the room. Ego's eyes then sharpened. A striker who lives for goals. A striker who devours his teammates. A striker who will abandon all reason, morals, and loyalty if it means scoring a goal. A player scoffed. That's insane. Ego smiled. Correct. Sanity has never won the World Cup. Don't you think? The screens then exploded with footage all around them. Legendary goals, ruthless finishes, cold celebrations in each one of those players' eyes. They had it. That spark in their eyes that ego would point at. This is their ego. It's the ability to place yourself above everything else when the goal is right in front of you. To believe you are the main character of the field no matter the circumstances. His gaze then turned to the crowd. Only one of you will end up surviving. The other 299 will have their careers erased from history. Gasp, panic, doubt. But one player didn't react. Isagi Yoichi stood still, eyes calm, unreadable. This place. This is exactly what I've been looking for. When the entrance gates opened, some hesitated, but Isagi ran forward immediately. No questions. Let's do this. Racing forward to enter, he didn't think twice. Later, returning to the facility, he's handed an outfit by Henri with a team and a number. Team Y and number 265. Isagi? Well, he looked forward to what could be happening. Inside basically the dorm, introductions began. I'm Okawa, one player said. Iki Nico, another muttered. Sharp but reserved. Isagi didn't speak. Okawa frowned. You're not gonna introduce yourself? Isagi looked at him. Names don't matter. Only results. The room fell silent. From day one, training felt easy. Drills that left everyone gasping. But Isagi's heart rate remained the same. Does he ever get tired? Someone whispered. Isagi didn't celebrate. He didn't react. All of this physical training is something he prepared for mentally and physically. He also began to train on his own. He trained in the morning before wake up, and he trained late nights, alone, as only his thoughts kept him comfort. I won't lose here. I can't afford to. From the observation room, Ego watched the monitors. Interesting, he muttered. Isagi Yoichi. No hesitation, no fear, no attachment. You're not training to survive like the others. You're training for something better. You're training to win. I like that about you. And in case you're wondering here, when they had their game of tag, an unknown player was eliminated, but that doesn't really matter. After days of relentless training, the teams were then summoned. Ego appeared on one screen. Congratulations, you unpolished gems. You've all survived what I'd call orientation. A pause would happen. Now let's see how many of you deserve to exist. A screen lit up, showing the rankings of the teams and their divisions. The first selection begins now. Team-based matches. He raised a finger. Lose and you drop in rank. Fall too low and you're eliminated. Another finger raised. Win and you'll be closer to becoming Japan's greatest striker. The room tensed. Goals are everything here. Assists are optional. Cooperation is temporary. But victory is absolute. His smile, it returned, sharp and merciless. If you can't turn 0 into 1, then you obviously don't belong here. The screen then shuts off. Isagi only cracked his neck at this new information. He's quiet, his eyes burning with hunger. Good. He then looked back at his teammates. Not as allies, but almost as pieces on a board that he could control. I don't need them to like me. I just need them to make sure that I score. This is where Blue Lock had truly began. Soon, the players will be gathered on a field for their first match. The whistle cut through the enclosed stadium. Team Y lined up tense and alert. Team V was the opposite. They looked bored. Seishiro Nagi stood at the center, shoulders slouched, eyes half-lidded. Mikage Reo adjusted his gloves, and he began smiling. Like this was a game he had already determined in his mind. Zantetsu bounced on his heels, itching to sprint. Isagi watched him quietly. So this is Team V. Overwhelming talent and zero hunger. Alright, Reo said cheerfully, tapping the ball forward. Let's start things off clean, Nagi. Reo's foot snapped forward. The pass wasn't fast. It was perfect, curving just enough to avoid an interception, dropping exactly where it needed to. Nagi yawned. He raised his foot slightly. The ball died on his step. A defender lunged in. Too late. With one smooth motion, Nagi flicked the ball upward and volleyed it into the net. A goal. Team V didn't celebrate. Reo was the only one who was clapping. Nice one, Nagi. His striker only shrugged. Okawa clicked his tongue. Are you kidding me? Isagi's eyes narrowed. That trap. Zero wasted motion. But he didn't even look as if he cared. Don't panic, Nico said calmly, adjusting his glasses. They're strong, but predictable. He scanned the field, eyes sharp. Spacing, movement, and timing. Then, Nico struck. A long diagonal ball slicing across the field towards Isagi. Yoichi, Okawa shouted. Isagi sprinted forward. Reo stepped in to cut him off. He's already leaning left. Isagi planted his foot and spun his body tightly around Reo, slipping past him and a defender in one motion. Reo began laughing. Oh, that was nice. Isagi didn't respond. He drew his leg back, a curved strike, bending away from the keeper's reach. And a goal. 1-1. Okawa pumped his fist in excitement. Isagi exhaled slowly, not saying a word. But Nagi, that had got his attention. He turned back to watch it. It was almost oppressive to him, but he still didn't really care about this match. Not yet, at least. The next possession, Team Y pressed aggressively. Nico intercepted a loose pass. Okawa took one touch and then sent it forward, yelling Isagi's name. Zantetsu, seeing his chance, exploded forward, smiling. Don't think you're faster than me. The two then raced side by side towards the ball, the turf blurring beneath them. He accelerated faster, but his reaction time, it lagged. Isagi cut inward instantly. Zantetsu stumbled. What? Isagi then kept going as Zantetsu lunged out desperately. I'll stop you. But it was too late. Isagi fired the shot before Zantetsu could even react, and a goal was had. 2-1. Zantetsu hit the ground, stunned. No way. Reo laughed openly now. This is getting fun because of you. Nagi scratched his head. I guess we should try a little bit. Reo then took control of the midfield, eyes gleaming. So, you're Yoichi Isagi, he said lightly. You're pretty interesting. He sent a no-look, reverse spinning pass. Wild, sharp, impossible. There you go, Nagi. Nagi yawned once again, trapping the ball on his thigh, letting it drop and smashing it midair to tie the score. The net rippled violently, and Nagi blinked done. Silence soon filled the arena. The match had ended in a draw. Players breathed heavily, sweat dripped. Reo began stretching. That was fun. You guys really surprised me. Zantetsu frowned. That guy, he's annoyingly fast. Nagi then glanced at Isagi. You're actually pretty good. Isagi soon met his gaze, unflinching. "You'll never become the world's best." Nagi then tilted his head. "Why?" Isagi turned away and began walking. "Because you rely on someone else to bring out your best playstyle. A true striker can create that alone." Ryo chuckled, telling him not to worry about that, but Nagi only stared at him, in his thoughts, as he whispered the words "maybe" below his breath. As the lights dimmed, Ego's voice echoed throughout the facility in his own room. "Excellent. Now let's see which one of you evolves next." Isagi in another room clenched his fist. "I won't lose. Not to them, not to anyone, not even to my brother." Isagi then sat alone for a long time after training had ended one day. The lights of Blue Lock dimmed, casting long shadows across the pitch. Around him, players talked, argued, laughed, each voice carrying a different intent. They don't see the same field, he soon realized. Everyone moves for their own reason. Isagi closed his eyes. The field reconstructed itself within his mind. Not lines and grass, but vectors, intentions, and probabilities. Football isn't just space, it's motive. When he opened his eyes, something had changed. Something else within him. "I don't need to chase the ball anymore," he muttered. "I need to control where it wants to go." Days later, they arrived on the field for another match. The whistle blew, and the team that they were going against, Team Z, they rushed forward aggressively. Raichi and Kuon closing in immediately. "Lock him down," Raichi barked, and two bodies pressed in. Isagi didn't panic. They wanted to cage him. He lowered his center of gravity, dragging the ball backwards with the sole of his foot, and then snapping forward, chaining a step over into a sudden inside-outside dribble. Kuon reached, he missed. Raichi lunged, but he was gone. Isagi burst free, eyes sharp, body flowing. "Already?" Kuon shouted. Isagi then struck. The ball screamed into the net. No celebration, just a slow turn back to midfield. Soon, on their next possession, Raichi clenched his fist while raising it to the air. "Pass it already." He drove forward, feeding Kira. Kira's eyes then flickered. Find the weak link. He juked Okawa cleanly, slipping the ball through to Kunigami. "My turn," he roared. As he wound up for the shot, it thundered forward, but a smack is heard. As it lands in Nico's face, silence. Nico collapsed, but then pushed himself up, his eyes wide, glowing with calculation. An awakening was happening. Flashback. Nico, alone at night, replaying footage, Isagi's positioning, his timing, his angles. "I just need to be able to see it first. If I can somehow even predict his moves just a little bit, then I should be able to do so for any striker in the facility." Back in the present, the ball began to float down, but Isagi was already there. He took the ball in stride. One defender, then another. His dribbling wasn't flashy. It was inevitable. Short touches, perfect rhythm, body swaying like a pendulum. The left is open. The right then collapses. A shooting lane opens. Now, from well outside the box, a goal. A super shot tore into the net that Gagamaru couldn't reach. What was that? Kira's breath was caught in the moment. How do you stop someone who sees everything? Someone who has skill that has no limits. Kira thinks back to their first time playing against each other in the national championship. But this was nothing like that. Sure, he was dominant in that match, But this was something entirely different. Team Z here has to try to regroup. Through me, Bachira called out. The ball moved fast, creative, but Isagi stepped in, intercepted it. He didn't even look at Kira before he said, "All of this, it's pointless. I can't afford to lose to you." He flicked the ball upward, a rainbow flick over Kira's head. Before it touched the ground, Isagi thought back to Seishiro Nagi. Pretty creative for someone so lazy. But greatness doesn't wait for anyone to wake up. Impact volley. Top corner. A hat trick. Kira fell to his knees. It's almost as if Isagi wasn't human. He's a machine made for goals. Who knew strikers like this truly existed within Japan? Bachira would snarl after this. Fine, I'll have my own fun. Summoning his monster. They danced through defenders. And he slammed in a solo goal. Cheers echoed, but it was too late as the whistle blew. Isagi walked off the field, expression empty. Kira began to watch him go. He's truly a monster. Isagi didn't look back. His eyes glowed and were focused on the next task at hand. Every match, he learned something new. Sure, he had been playing football his whole life. But Blue Lock showed him a completely different world that he now wanted to grasp with everything in the fiber of his existence. Isagi sat alone before the match. The screen in front of him replayed the same footage over and over again. Shohei BAROU. His brother's physique was overwhelming. Broad shoulders, explosive legs, power that bent defenders backward. Every goal was taken by force. Every run was a declaration. He's incredible, Isagi admitted. But his eyes sharpened. Not impossible. He shut the screen off, standing up, anger boiling at his chest. Years of abandonment, hunger, and resentment. That anger, it would cloud me. So we knelt down on the cold floor, breathing slow but steady. "I can't chase him anymore," he whispered. "I have to hunt him down. But I have to put myself in the mind state to do so." Team X would soon be seen stepping onto the field. BAROU didn't look at Isagi. Isagi didn't look at BAROU. The whistle blew. BAROU took the ball. He surged forward like a battering ram. Two defenders bounced off of him. Another tried to slide in, but BAROU dragged the ball past him and shot through the contact. A goal. The net shook violently. BAROU turned, spreading his arms wide. "Bow down," he roared. "The true king of football has arrived." The words echoed throughout the room. Isagi even heard them. He laughed, grabbing his own face, fingers digging into his cheeks. Laughter, sharp and unhinged. "I'll burn that throne down to the ground," he snarled, eyes gleaming. "With my own hands." The next possession, Isagi didn't hesitate. He ran straight at BAROU, who would smirk. "You think you..." Isagi slipped the ball sideways at the last moment. Okuwa then flicked the ball over both their heads with a chip, and Isagi exploded forward. As he passed BAROU, he spoke. Quiet and final. "I'm done looking up to you." The ball dropped, and Isagi trapped it and spun around a defender, aiming his shot and scoring, tying the game. BAROU's eyes would widen as he almost chuckled to himself. But soon, he answered immediately. He would bulldoze through the midfield, cut inside, and fire a knuckle shot that ripped into the net. After this, Isagi had his own answer. A 1-2 with Nico into a sharp feint, and then a precise strike into the bottom corner. This caused BAROU to laugh wildly. "That's it. That's what I wanted." He then scored again, muscling past two defenders to slam the ball home. Isagi would soon wipe the sweat from his face. "I'm still chasing," the thought burned. "No, I'm still reacting. Then, he changed. He slowed down the game. He drifted between lines, watching and calculating. When the chance came, he struck. A curved shot, bending away from BAROU's pressure, tying the game once again, 3-3. BAROU soon took the ball. The world slowed. Just then, BAROU charged forward, shoulders squared, eyes blazing. "Move," he growled. Isagi stayed in front of him. Step, into a feint, then a sharp turn. BAROU tried everything. Then he went into power cuts, sudden chops, brute force. Isagi matched him. Their feet danced. Flashback. 2 kids in an empty field, laughing, competing, and falling over. Their parents in the background. This used to be their life. But then everything shattered. Divorce, silence, distance. Back to the present. There were no smiles, only hunger. BAROU shifted his weight. A chop to the right. Isagi saw it, reaching out for the ball. Now. He stabbed his foot. A poke tackle. The ball spilled free. BAROU froze, and Isagi reacted, running. The keeper rushed out. Defenders closed in. I'm boxed in. Isagi's mind fractured, but then it reassembled. Even if they're here, even if he sees me, the goal shrank. One space remained. There. Isagi struck. The ball, threaded through reality itself. A goal. 4-3. Silence followed. BAROU stood frozen. No words, only fury. Isagi didn't celebrate. He stood still, his hands over his eyes. That goal. I saw it differently. The only place that the keeper couldn't reach. When he lowered his hands, his eyes had changed. Sharp, focused, animalistic. Yoichi Isagi had awakened the predator eye. The undefeated were lined up once more. Jinpachi Ego looked at them with unmistakable disappointment. "You survived," he said. "Don't misunderstand why." The monitors then lit up. Your victories weren't proof of greatness. They were only proof of potential. Unpolished, incomplete. Training began that same day. Weights until muscles failed, sprints until legs burned, and for the first time since entering Blue Lock, Isagi began to struggle. His legs felt heavier every morning, his vision blurred at night. So this is the next level. But the predator eye didn't fade. It only sharpened through his harsh training. Even as his body screamed in agony, his mind continued to adapt, cutting efficiency, predicting movement before it even happened. "This hurts," he had whispered one night, "but that's good." Then, Ego revealed the truth. There were multiple Blue Locks, he said calmly. Identical teams, identical ranks. Shock rippled throughout the rooms as each team began to enter. This is a second selection. Walking through to a new area where all sorts of strikers had remained. Each person looking across the room to see an unfamiliar face, someone they didn't face against. Many could see rivals who they did face. And so many strikers stood in awe of what was really going on. But as soon as the next test revealed itself, Isagi pushed forward, wasting no time. Entering this area alone. From out the wall, a ball is launched at him. Traps, shoots, and then it resets again. A almost video game-like screen appears, showing him how many goals he needs to get in this amount of time. Halfway through this process, frustration flared. I'm wasting time. I need to focus even harder. The predator eye reawakened. And in this moment, Isagi truly began to understand what he was here for. A shot then screamed into the net. No pause, no delay. Continuing to do this faster, he hit 100 before we would know it. He exited silently. Soon, after this, is when Isagi would notice who his teammates were. He could only see someone else standing in front of him, Itoshi Ren. The two would sort of introduce each other in a smug manner, but then BAROU would be the one to walk forward as well. Seeing as these three were the first to make it through, they formed a team together. After this, waiting in a new area, soon another team arrived to challenge them, and that team was made up of Kira, Nagi, and Bachara. When they exited to the pitch, or entered it, the whistle echoed sharply. No crowd, no cheers, just a holographic keeper in the background. 3-on-3 football, stripped to its bones. Isagi's breath was steady, but his body still felt the weight of Ego's brutal conditioning. Muscles still a little sore, lungs almost still burning. Even so, he could see everything. Across the field, Kira stood calm. Nagi slouched, and Bachara bounced on his toes, smiling. "Let's have some fun," he would say. And Ren didn't respond. He only moved. He took the ball straight off the kickoff. No pass, no setup. He drove forward with relentless efficiency, touching the ball, keeping it tight, then opening up. As Kira stepped in, it was too late. Ren had already struck the ball from a distance, curving it right into the goal. Almost awestruck, Kira didn't even know what to say, as Ren called everyone lukewarm, already turning away. Isagi had watched this moment, eyes narrowing. No wasted motion, no emotion. He doesn't even overwhelm you, he deletes you. Soon, Team Kira regrouped quickly. Having their own attack, Kira barked to Nagi to pass. A sharp pass cut through. Then, back to Nagi, as he would trap it effortlessly, killing its momentum dead in its track. "So troublesome," he muttered, "but for some reason, I'm excited." The shot flew, and BAROU stepped across, his leg extended impossibly far, slicing through the air. A block. The ball then ricocheted upward. "Majestic," he said calmly, adjusting his posture and fixing his hair. Isagi was already moving. Ball trajectory, defender spacing, keeper watching him steadily. This time, he traps it and brings the ball down, dribbling ahead with such speed that he couldn't be caught by anyone. Striking the ball with immense power, it soared into the net. A goal. Bachara began laughing out loud. "Isagi, since when were you this scary?" He didn't answer. 2 more steps. That's all it takes. Soon, pressure had shifted. Kira stayed back. Nagi tried to cut off passing lanes, and Bachara continued to watch Isagi directly. "You're a threat now," he would say cheerfully. But as they began their own attack, it was quickly cut off. Soon, as BAROU had the ball, instead of trapping it, he instantly sent it forward. This type of pass had so much speed that it almost would catch Isagi off guard, but he was prepared. Now, instead of trapping it himself, he let it pass the center line, twisting his hip motions. A snap. A strike then detonated into the net before anyone could react. Everyone had noticed that he didn't even hit it with his dominant foot or what they thought was. He used his left foot. Silence filled the area. Ren then turned slowly to him. "You didn't even try to stop the ball." Isagi exhaled. "Stopping it wastes time. And you and me both know we don't have that." Ren almost felt something different, fuming from Isagi. It was sort of like his own rage and motivation, something the two could share, each having a desire to completely crush an elder brother, but neither would know. Soon, Bachara clapped his own hands. Alright, then it's my turn. On their next possession, he surged forward, dribbling like liquid, elastic touches, unpredictable rhythm. Aryu reached, and he missed. Isagi stepped in, but Bachara slipped right by him in the nick of time, scoring his own goal, laughing, and his laughter echoed in the arena. But after this, it seemed that this team of dominant strikers would truly take off in this moment. Ren, not even looking back, would say, "Conviction without results is useless." Taking the ball on his next possession, dribbling around Kira and Nagi, slamming it into the net. Now, they only needed one more goal to finish off this match. Everything in Isagi's mind began to focus harder. Every movement, everything he's learned, and even this most recent test. Seeing and analyzing everything that was in front of him, Isagi began to make his move. Instantly, he grabbed the ball, stealing it from Kira. Soon, as he was running forward, Kira and Nagi began to close in from both sides. They're trying to crush me. Good. The Predator Eye would ignite. Time slowed. It looks like the keeper's feet are almost too wide. Nagi hesitates for just half a second. That gap only fits one type of shot. Isagi drove through with contact. Pain flared. He shot anyway. The ball, this really lifted into the air and then completely dipped right behind the keeper into the back of the net. The match was over. Isagi stood still, chest rising, and then falling to one knee, almost a little tired from exhausting himself with that type of shot. His leg burned, but that sensation, that feeling, it was like no other. Ren had glanced at him, irritation burning behind his eyes. "I despise you and your strength." But Isagi didn't smile. Not yet. But for the first time, he could feel it. He wasn't chasing anyone. He was truly competing on a high level. Soon, they would choose to take Bachara, and night would completely swallow Blue Lock whole. Isagi trained alone. His breathing was controlled, but his legs, they continued to burn. Every strike echoed against the metal netting and the sharp silence in the room. The Predator Eye, new shooting techniques, new dribbling, but it's still not enough. He reset the ball. Before he could move, footsteps he would hear. "You're pretty noisy, you know that?" Isagi turned. Itoshi Ren stood at the edge of the field, arms crossed, eyes sharp as blades. "Couldn't sleep?" Isagi asked. Ren stepped forward. "Enough talking. Let's go ahead and settle this." Isagi, already knowing what he meant, got down in a stance, his lips already curled faintly. "Bring it on then." The ball rolled between them, no countdown, and they moved at the same instant. Ren struck first, sharp, efficient dribbling, every touch calculated to limited options. Isagi mirrored him, with the Predator Eye burning as the world slowed around them. He's closing lanes before I even move. Ren then feinted left and cut right. Isagi barely kept up. Ren clicked his tongue, lukewarm as ever. They clashed, and Isagi tried to slip past, but Ren's foot intercepted. Again and again. High above, in an observation room, Jinpachi Ego watched, his hands in his coat pockets. Henri leaned forward, looking at the screen. They're matched evenly, but it seems that Ren still has the edge. Ego smirked. Well, then this is where it begins to get interesting. Leaning closer to the screen himself, ego isn't confidence. It isn't talent. It's the ability to discard yourself. Henri blinked. Discard yourself? Yes, Ego said calmly. Your past, your pride, your fear. The striker who can abandon everything, even their own identity, will always devour the rest. Ren pressed again. Isagi tried to cut inside. Blocked. His foot slipped and the ball rolled free. Damn it. And for a split second, doubt surfaced. I still can't get around him. The field then began to blur, and a memory, it flooded in. Two boys chasing a ball under a summer sun, laughter and competition. BAROU towering ahead, striking first. Isagi watching, fists clenched. Then later, cold nights, empty fields. Football became revenge, proof, evidence. I'll surpass you. Another memory surged. Isagi slumped after losing to BAROU. His mother kneeling beside him, smiling softly. You know, she said, brushing his hair back. This family didn't just create one king. She looked him straight in the eyes, wiping his tears. It created two. Isagi's eyes snapped back into the present. That's it. Forget revenge, forget comparison, forget everything. I have to stop holding on completely. I have to evolve. I can't remain the same any longer. If I can't force my own evolution, then I don't need to be a striker. That could only leave room for error. This is the only thing that matters now, Isagi whispered, planting his foot. I can only do one thing and chase one goal. That's all that matters. Becoming Japan's true striker. Isagi almost had a flow-like aura around him as everything ignited within his mind. Ren lunged forward. Isagi flicked the ball backward with his heel. Then, he sends it over Ren's leg. Ren's eyes widened for the first time. Isagi trapped it cleanly and spun around him in one fluid motion. What? Ren snapped, recovering instantly and chasing him down. You're still lukewarm. Isagi chopped the ball with his back foot once again, violently changing direction. Space tore open. He shot, and Ren lost control. Damn it! He fouled him, slamming his foot down. Bodies colliding, blocking the lane. But Isagi, he stayed focused on the ball, striking anyway. The shot, it disappeared. A blur. A new technique. One with blinding speed and accuracy, no matter the circumstance. A royal spear. The net screamed. A goal. Isagi stood frozen, chest heaving. What was that? How did I? He said quietly. Ren stared at the net, looking down at the ball, fist shaking, then back to Isagi. In another room, Ego smiled. There it is. Honoree couldn't believe it. He discarded himself. Ego nodded. And it seems that he's reborn in some light. Even for an unpolished gem, he's quite the interesting one. Time passed differently within Blue Lock. Days blurred into iron and sweat, numbers and pain. Isagi and Ren pushed each other relentlessly, shoulder to shoulder in the weight room. Silent competitions over reps, sprints, and even recovery time. Neither ever spoke much. They didn't need to. Every glance said the same thing. I won't fall behind you. One night, as plates clanked and breaths grew heavy, the door cracked open. Isagi looked up first. Kira stepped in, calm as ever. Behind him, Bachira, who was grinning wide. And then, a familiar presence rolled in like a storm. Red eyes, broad shoulders, and a king's stride. Shohei BAROU. Isagi's chest tightened in this moment. BAROU stopped right in front of him, looking down at his younger brother. So, BAROU said, low and dominant. You've climbed pretty high, little brother. Isagi met his gaze without flinching. You still plan to look down on me? He would say while standing up. Now, the two brothers were eye to eye. BAROU began to laugh. Don't think because you gained a little height means anything. I'll crush you again, and this time, I'll make sure you never forget it. Ren scoffed from the rack. You all talk too much. so what's the point of you even being in here? Chigiri is the last to step in, tying his hair back. Well, then we can save it all for the pitch. Bachira clapped his hands. Tomorrow it is then. It sounds fun. The next day, we'd see them all lined up. Team Ren, Isagi, BAROU, and Bachira. The new Team Kira, which is Kira, Nagi, BAROU, and Chigiri. The whistle blew, starting the game. Ren took control immediately, firing a sharp shot from distance. It was too obvious. Kira stepped in, deflecting it cleanly. Not this time, he said calmly. The ball rebounded. Isagi's predator eye snapped on. The holographic keeper leaning in, the left exposed. He struck without hesitation. Goal. 1-0. BAROU snarled because of this. After this, Kira had to regain his composure instantly. Resetting the game with a soft pass, Nagi trapped it. Like gravity didn't apply to him. Such a pain, he had muttered. But I don't feel like losing anymore. Then he flicked it past BAROU, and he finished. Tying the game. Isagi clicked his own tongue. I wasn't expecting that from him. This is when something new would emerge. Resetting the game, Isagi stood with the ball under his feet. As soon as it was time for them to start, he surged forward aggressively. BAROU and Chigiri collapsed on him. You're not getting through, Chigiri shouted. Isagi smiled faintly. That's fine. I never planned to at this moment. A blind pass. Ren, reacting on instinct. What? One touch to a quick strike. A goal. Ren glanced back. You passed to me. How weak. Isagi nodded. Don't get used to it, pretty boy. I'm here for one thing and one thing only, to become the very best. But I can't lose to people like this. Bachira giggled as he took the ball. But it wasn't their turn, of course. So the team resets. Kira and Chigiri try to press forward with their own attack, but it's cut out by Bachira, stealing the ball. It's my turn now. He danced through the defenders, slipping past Chigiri once again and spinning around Kira, baiting BAROU into lunging. Too slow. He then flicks the ball right into the air, kicking it into the goal. 3-1. BAROU then slammed his fist into the turf, angry. The next time out, they would try to run forward with an attack, but it stopped. So now, Team Ren has their counter. As they go forward, Bachira tries to get another shot off, but it's deflected by Kira and goes out of bounds, and their team is awarded a corner kick. Ren would set up the ball. Kira wondered, who would he pass to? But Ren didn't have any thoughts like that in his mind. Kicking the ball instantly, it curved viciously into the net. Another goal was scored, and now they were at match point. Lukewarm, he said coldly. Kira had to exhale slowly. Adapt, he would say to himself in his mind, over and over again, knowing that he needs to adapt in order to beat this team of monsters. Running forward, he spun and then struck with no rotation. The ball dipped violently, a knuckle shot. A goal was scored here, and Bachira, he was excited by this, but Isagi narrowed his eyes. It seems that he's still growing, but I'll crush him next. This is when something unprecedented happened. As the game reset, Isagi closed his eyes. It seemed that the world began to bow down to him. As a flow state appeared, BAROU charged at him directly. I won't let you pass me. Isagi slowed and then toyed with him. One feint into two, into a sudden stop. BAROU overcommitted. Isagi leapt. Then, he flicked the ball over his brother. In an open space, far outside the box, Isagi did something he hadn't done before. A perfect bicycle kick screamed into the net, ending the match, completely overwhelming his brother, who was said to be the king. BAROU was stunned. He had no words for this. He couldn't believe it. His younger brother not only caught up to him, but was somehow starting to surpass him. Isagi landed lightly, breathing steadily. "I'm done chasing you." Then, the choice was next. Ren would turn to Kira. "You're coming with us." Kira exhaled, then nodded. "I expected as much." BAROU looked away, having to go back to the next stage because they lost here. Screens soon flickered, and Jinpachi Ego would appear grinning. "Congratulations! You've reached the final stage of the second selection." Now different people appeared upon the screens. "How about your next 5 opponents?" The World 5 team. Shock hit everyone. Isagi's heartbeat slowed. This is it. Ren almost smiled thinking of the competition. Bachara clenched his fist, and Kira just adjusted his stance. Ego's voice then echoed throughout this room. Devour the world or be erased by it. Isagi, his eyes, burned even brighter in this moment. Skipping to the day of that match, the air felt heavier. 5 figures stood across the pitch, casual, relaxed, smiling, like this was nothing more than a warm-up. Julian Loki, Leonardo Luna, Adam Blake, Pablo Cavazos, Dada Silva, all stood, waiting for their first challenge. Isagi focused. So this is the world. And as they lined up, Isagi stepped forward towards Loki. Loki turned to him, eyes sharp, almost curious, as if he could sense something. So, he said, "You're one of them." Isagi met his gaze. "I'm chasing the same dream that you are." Loki's smile had widened. To become what? The savior for Japan? No. I don't care about being a savior for a nation. I want to become the world's best. And I won't stop until I reach that dream. For a moment, Loki's eyes almost glowed, excited by this challenge. Then force me, no, force the world to acknowledge you. The game began. The World 5 moved first. Pressure suffocated the pitch. Isagi felt it immediately. Their presence alone bent space. Then, somehow, Ren had intercepted the ball. Ren had snapped. Moving forward, Isagi wasn't even thinking. A sharp 1-2 between these two strikers. No hesitation, no wasted step. Ren drew Luna in and slipped the pass through. Isagi struck the ball. A goal. Silence had followed, with Ren claiming that he didn't even want to pass it to him, but he had no choice here. Isagi just tells him that he doesn't have time to argue with him. They need to win. Loki only laughed. That was pretty good. Kira stood frozen. That wasn't luck. Every touch had been deliberate. Every movement between those two, it was synchronized. They weren't reacting, they were deciding. So this is what this level of football can look like. 2 strikers, sharing the same future. But when the game reset, Loki moved, and then exploded. He vanished past everyone, the ball glued to his feet. A blur, into a strike, into a goal. Isagi's eyes had widened. He didn't even accelerate fully. Soon, on another possession, Luna received the ball with his back to the goal. Turning instantly and blocking off BAROU from stealing it, he fires a shot that shook the net violently. After this is when Cavazos had the ball on his own possession. His shot felt so surgical. It wasn't forced. It was almost perfection as he had dribbled around people and then opened up his own path to goal. Isagi truly couldn't believe anything he was witnessing. This is the gap between him and some of the world's best. It almost excited him to a point. He surged forward with his vision expanding on his own possession, believing he could still fight. This is when Adam Blake stepped in, solid and immovable. Isagi crashed into him as his shot was blocked. He didn't even look strained at all. "You're too eager," he said calmly. Loki then grinned, recovering the ball. Enough. Now, after this, is when the World 5 would take over, ending the match. Isagi stood frozen, his chest feeling heavy. Adam Blake walked over to him. "You're strong," he said. "But when your emotions spike, your intentions, they become readable." Isagi looked up. "You awaken power, yeah, but you leave yourself exposed." Blake met his eyes. "Expand your view of yourself and of the field." He then slipped away, walking with just that advice sitting on Isagi's mind. I'm still incomplete. Outside on the world, far away from Blue Lock, they received some backlash. Japan's Football Association fired back that this experiment had gone too far. A press conference had followed, and then to an announcement. Japan's U20 team versus Blue Lock's 11. The screen then cut to a familiar face, showing a midfielder who hadn't returned in quite some time. Then it cut back to Isagi, who was sitting in his room, thinking about that match. This isn't the end. It's only the beginning. Blue Lock then changed once again, in preparation for something that was greater on the horizon. Captains were chosen without a ceremony, based on impact, Ego would say flatly. Screens flashed, and Team A's captains were Isagi Yoichi and Seishiro Nagi. Murmurs began, but Isagi didn't react. Across the room, Nagi blinked lazily, looking forward, knowing that this time might be different, as he might try to overcome Isagi here. Matches came quickly. Team A would go undefeated. Isagi's dictated tempo, directing passes, timing counters, forcing the field to bend to his will. Nagi would level up just a little bit, finishing with brilliance, scoring goals that felt unfair. Yet, something continued to shift. After this, Ego's voice would cut through. The starting strikers for the Blue Lock U20 match. A pause would come after. Isagi Yoichi. His chest tightened, but then another name went through the fog. Itoshi Ren. Ren didn't even look at him. Isagi exhaled slowly. We're still walking in separate paths, but to the same goal. The players would later gather in a darkened room. Ego stood alone at the front. Talent got you here, he would say, but ego will take you further. The screen lit up, a slow montage of footage, players moving at impossible speeds, expressions blank, instincts active. This, he continued, is flow. Silence followed throughout this room. Flow is not focus. It is not confidence. It is the state of mental immersion acquired through one's own primal experience. Isagi then leaned forward, more interested than ever. When your skill, Ego said, meets a challenge perfectly matched for you, your consciousness disappears. The footage froze for a moment. On a striker mid-shot. No fear, no hesitation, no self. Isagi's hand trembled at the thought. That feeling. The World 5. The Royal Spear. The moment the goal existed before the shot. He noticed it time and time again, but never knew what that truly was. To himself, he'd whisper, I've been there. Ego's eyes snapped around the room. Flow cannot be forced, Ego said, but those who can understand it can return into its state. The screen then shifted to one of Isagi's highlights. For you, Yoichi Isagi, flow is not about instinct alone. Isagi's heartbeat roared. It's about vision. The room then continued to fade. When I stopped thinking about winning. When I stopped thinking about myself. The field, it opens. Without even knowing it while looking at this, Isagi had realized he said it out loud. And Ego, he gave an evil grin. Find that state, all of you, and you won't just defeat Japan. Ego then spun around. You'll rewrite the history for the future of football. Isagi clenched his fists. Flow, it can't be something that I chase. It's something I enter, like opening a door. And for the first time since Blue Lock began, I feel more excited than ever. The lights transitioned to white. The stadium would soon roar. Not with belief, but with curiosity. Blue Lock stood opposite to Japan's U20 team. Eyes forward. A 4-4-2 formation. 2 strikers at the front. Yoichi Isagi and Itoshi Ren. The whistle, instantly, cut through the noise. In opening play, Ren took the kickoff. 1 touch. A sharp pass to Isagi. Isagi redirected it instantly. No pause, no wait. It led it right to Yukimiya on the flank. Mine, he muttered. He attacked Teru and Hatake head on. A step over into a sudden cut. His freestyle dribbling on full display. Then, another feint. Both defenders bit the attack. Yukimiya bursted through its speed and whipped across back towards the center. Ren, seeing his opportunity, surged forward and then fired. Clang. Oliver Aiku stepped in, blocking the shot clearly. Too obvious, he said calmly. The ball popped upward, and for a split second, silence as everyone's gaze met it. But Isagi, he was already airborne. Angle, timing, the keeper leaning, all of it ran through his mind. He twisted his body. A scissor kick volley. The ball then tore through the air and rolled into the back of the net with force. A goal. For a moment, everyone who was watching, in Japan and in the stadium, couldn't believe their eyes. But from one man standing up and yelling, the stadium exploded and the commentators went crazy. Isagi landed, eyes locked in forward. This is when Itoshi Sai would notice something. Interesting. Ren heard it and his jaw tightened. The U20 team adjusted instantly. Sendo made a late run but fired off a shot. He missed. The rebound fell loose, but Sai, he didn't hesitate. 1 strike into a goal. Clean and effortless. It was something you expected from someone a part of the new Gen 11. Someone who Japan leaned all their hope on as of this moment. Now, the score was tied again, 1-1. Blue Lock, they felt the shift. This is his level, Isagi thought. It's far above my own currently. But I can catch up. I feel it. Blue Lock soon attacked again. Chigiri ignited down the wing, a red streak blazing. He then sent the ball inside. Bacho received it while smiling. Let's dance. A sharp turn, into a flick. He then threaded the ball to the middle, where Kira stood, open. He drew back his leg, but a presence appeared. Sai's foot struck the ball away. You're so lukewarm, he said flatly. All of you. The ball rolled loose, but Isagi took it. Aiku stepped forward. Ren closed in from the side. The stadium held its breath. Nowhere to go. Isagi's heartbeat slowed. This pressure, this suffocation, conditions then aligned. I can feel it. And in this moment, he just let go. Fear, thought, self, all of it sank away. The world, hollowed out. This time, the predator eye burned There. He struck before anyone could react. The ball ripped through space. A goal. Then the whistle would blow for halftime. Isagi still stood there, silent. Flow. It had reached him in this moment. And in this match, this declaration of a shot would mean that it truly began. The locker room itself was silent. Sweat dripped. Everyone was quiet. Itoshi Sai stood, expression unreadable, walked past his teammates without a word. The door would shut behind him. Moments later, it opened again, but this time, a grin entered first. Wild eyes, twisted joy. Ryusei Shido. Heh. Finally. Shido laughed. Let's blow this place up. Soon, the players entered the field once again. The whistle blew. Sai touched the ball once, and Shido instantly moved, sprinting forward. No signals, no hesitation. Sai threaded the pass that shouldn't even exist. Shido twisted his body mid-air and volleyed it into the net in the opening drive. A goal. Another declaration was sent here. The stadium froze for a moment before exploding in Shido's celebration. Bachara laughed, out of breath. This guy, he's insane. Isagi felt it immediately. This wasn't just football anymore. It was pure violence on the field, everyone clawing away to reach the pinnacle point of victory. The reset came fast. Ren took the ball and didn't pass. He drove forward relentlessly, shredding through space with pure intent. I'll crush you, he growled. He reached the box and then stopped, as Sai stood right in front of him. Still chasing after me, he said quietly. Ren would strike, but it was blocked. The ball rolled away, and he clenched his teeth. U20 begins their own counter, as he then receives the ball again. Looking forward, Sai could see his defenders pressing in. Raichi and Yukimiya, and Bachara from behind him. 3-on-1, he said to himself. He smiled, then disappeared, calling them all lukewarm. A body feint shattered Raichi's balance. A sharp cut broke Yukimiya's line, and a drag to the back left literally broke Bachara's ankles. This is the flow of Itoshi Sai, one of the new Gen 11, Isagi would say to himself. Sai then fired the ball. A perfect, ruthless strike. Another goal. Blue Lock now trailed. An action would soon cut through the chaos. A substitution. Shohei BAROU entered the field. The king had stepped onto the pitch. I'll devour everything, including you, Isagi. BAROU growled. He didn't wait. He didn't force the ball to his feet. He bulldozed through defenders, taking it for himself. Bow, he would roar. A brutal, dominating strike would soon follow. A goal. The stadium reignited. Time dwindled down. The score tied once again. Ren would be able to steal the ball. His vision narrowed. Everything screamed. I'll destroy it. Destroy it all. Entering his own destructive state of flow. Carving forward with malice. Sai stepped in. Brother against brother. Their clash stalled the play. And soon, the ball slipped free, rolling towards Isagi. BAROU sprinting beside him. I'll devour you once again. Isagi stayed calm. BAROU charged in, drawing Aiku and the keeper too. A smokescreen. Thank you, elder brother. Isagi's flow surged even stronger. The stadium vanished. Adam Blake's voice echoed. Your intentions are readable. Ego's voice then followed. Discard yourself. Isagi raised his foot, then stopped. Fake. A shift. Now, to his left. A knuckleball screamed forward, bending reality. As time paused, the net exploded. The stadium erupted, and so did the announcers. Yoichi Isagi has done it. He has made a claim for victory through all odds against him. Lights flashed, and then cameras swarmed. Sai stood silently, then looked towards him. So, you're the striker Japan has been waiting on. Isagi faced the cameras. A bunch of reporters trying to put a microphone in his face. Then he turned to one. This is my declaration to the world. His eyes burned with fury and hope for the future. Japan's football will rise from the ashes, and we will win a World Cup. The world will listen to this statement, echoing throughout everyone's mind. And it seems that from this point on, football had changed forever. The noise faded, the lights, the cameras, then the chants. All of it disappeared the moment Isagi stepped back into the quiet of his own neighborhood. The apartments, they hadn't changed. The cracked walls, a flickering hallway light, a door that got stuck unless you lifted it just right. But it was home. His mother stood in the kitchen when he had arrived, sleeves rolled up, humming softly as she stirred a pot. She turned back to him, startled, but then smiled. "Welcome back." Isagi then sat at a small table, the chair creaking beneath him. He looked around, taking in the familiar emptiness. "I'm close," he said suddenly. His mother paused, wondering what he meant by this. "I'm close. I can feel it." Isagi then continued, his voice low but steady. "Everything I've done. Blue Lock, the U20 match. I'm so close to pulling us out of this. Just a little bit more." She then walked over and placed a hand on his shoulder. "That's not your responsibility to bear," she said gently. "You're my son, not my savior." Isagi clenched his fist. "I know, but I can't stop thinking about it." Before she could answer, 2 knocks were heard on the door, which was strange because they never got any visitors, which caused both of them to freeze. His mother hesitated, but walked over to the door, opening it. Instantly, the air shifted. Her firstborn son stood right in front of her. "BAROU," she whispered softly, and he only looked down with a soft smile. "Mom." Before she could continue, he stepped inside, his eyes scanning the room. He dragged the chair back and then sat down, wood screeching against the floor. He looked straight at Isagi. "Whatever happens next," he said firm, unyielding, "I want you to know something." Isagi then met his gaze. "I refuse to lose to you." The words hit harder than any tackle. "You've caught up," BAROU continued. "Somehow you did. And that's my fault. I got complacent." He then stood up once again. "But that ends now. No hug, no apology, just resolve." BAROU walked out without saying another word, and silence followed. Then, his mother exhaled shakily. She couldn't say anything to him. She didn't know what to say. She hadn't seen him in so long. And more than that, she couldn't believe how much BAROU looked like her ex-husband. But she was able to say something. "Isagi," she said softly, then pointed at the table. An envelope laid there, her name written neatly on the front. Inside, a check. More money than the two of them had ever seen. Isagi's throat tightened. Neither of them spoke, because they already knew what this was for. BAROU may try to hide it on the outside, but deep down Isagi already knew this, that he cared for their mother, like no other. Their move, it wasn't loud. No announcements, no cameras, just 2 suitcases, and a door that closed quietly behind them. The new apartment, it wasn't luxurious, but it was clean, bright. The walls were smooth, the floor didn't creak, and sunlight poured into a wide window. Isagi set the last box down and looked around. His mother smiled, a little tired, but thankful. "It's nice," she said. "Yeah," he replied softly. "It really is." That night, Isagi sat on his bed while his mother unpacked in the other room. The sounds of a normal life began filling the space as he thought about the match. For a time, silence filled the room. Then, through all of it, his phone buzzed, causing him to open his eyes. As he read the message below, "Blue Lock restart notice." Isagi stared at the screen, then clenched his fist. It's time. The gates of Blue Lock opened once more, but the atmosphere, it had changed. Isagi stepped inside, eyes sharp, posture steady. The hallways were familiar, yet filled with an unfamiliar tension. Even the U20 Japan players stood among them now, former opponents. Now, they could be competitors. This wasn't survival anymore, Isagi thought. It's selection, on a bigger scale. The lights then dimmed, and the screens ignited. Jinpachi Ego appeared, his hands in his pockets, a grin, sharp as ever. "Welcome back," he said, "you unpolished gems." Silence then fell among the players. "As you can see," Ego continued, "we've forced the world to look at us." Headlines flashed, commentary, international reactions. "But let's be clear of one thing," Ego said coldly. "If we challenge the world as we are now," the screens then shifted to crushing defeats. "We'd lose." No one argued. However, Ego then went on. "There's still room for growth." He leaned closer to the screens. "So tell me, what truly made you stronger? What was the primary reason that you've grown so much?" The screens changed to different things. Stadiums, cities, cultures. "Your environment," he said simply. Murmurs then spread. "You evolved because the world around you demanded it." Ego smiled, then widened. And now, the screen shifted again. France, Germany, Spain, England, and Italy. The Neo Egoist League awaits you. Isagi's eyes locked onto the screen. This is it. The next environment. My next evolution. And this time, I'd be able to choose it for myself. Isagi stood quietly and thought. Eyes focused, the images of the Neo Egoist League still burning in his mind. Footsteps then approached him. Yoichi, Iki Nico, was seen right in front of him, hands in his pocket. He looked at Isagi. "I've been watching you, and we've been able to play together. So let's continue that. Your vision, the way you control games, if you choose a place, I'll follow." Before Isagi could answer, another presence joined him. Oliver Aiku, the captain for the U20 Japan team. "Yeah, I'm with the kid here." "You don't just score goals," Aiku said calmly. "You play like you're some sort of hero. It's like magic on the pitch. So, I'll follow behind you." Isagi was surprised, but he stood there, thinking. Paris. This was where superstars could be made. Germany was pure efficiency. Spain had freedom and even creativity. England was pure intensity, a fast motion offense. But then something else struck out to him. Italy. Strategy, structure, strength. A system where vision mattered more than chaos. Strategies that could shape a striker. Isagi said to himself, "That's where I'll grow next." The decision was final. Isagi was seen stepping onto the Italian side of Blue Lock, but so did someone else. His brother also joined him on Italy's Ubers, BAROU. Their eyes met briefly, but no words were said. The room they entered darkened. Holographic data appeared around them, lighting up the room. Player stats, movement charts, economic graphs. Mark Snuffy then stood calmly at the center. Football, he begun, is not a dream. The words cut sharp, then deep. It's a job. The data then shifted. Corporate hierarchies, investment flows. Clubs, like the Ubers, are corporations. Matches between teams, they're business deals. And players, well, of course, they're the employees. Isagi felt something click within his mind. Stability, structure, survival. Snuffy continued on. Win, and your value rises. Lose, and you'll be replaced. Isagi clenched his fist. This was real. Training them began immediately. Tailored, ruthless, efficient. Every moment measured. Every decision calculated. Soon we'd later see something else. Snuffy stopped BAROU alone. You could be my successor here, you know that, he said. But it's only if you want. BAROU scoffed. I don't follow anyone else. That's not a king's path. Snuffy's eyes softened. My best friend said something similar once. He spoke of ambition, of refusal to compromise. He lived a different type of life. But then came his death. He gave him the whole backstory, causing BAROU's jaw to tighten, thinking of someone else, his brother. No, he said. I'll be the king, he said coldly. With or without you. I don't need your support. Snuffy nodded. He then returned to his room. A screen lit up. Yoichi Isagi. Training, thinking, and adapting. Snuffy smiled faintly. Yoichi Isagi, he murmured. The brother always left behind. Thinking back, and now looking at a different screen that showed the data of Isagi's life. His eyes narrowed while looking back to him. What will you do now? Their first match had arrived before anyone expected. No warm-up for real, no easing in. The starting lineup flashed across screens. Then, a murmur rippled through the world as they watched. Ubers, frontline strikers, Yoichi Isagi, Shohei BAROU. The brothers stood shoulder to shoulder walking onto the field. No acknowledgement, no reconciliation, only tension between the two. High above, the masters observed. Julian Loki leaned back casually, arms crossed, eyes sharp. I'm surprised, he said slightly, that Isagi isn't your chosen warrior. Mark Snuffy didn't look away from the field. Experience is the best teacher, he replied. Even for those of us called mentors. Loki laughed. Careful, old man. Your age is showing. And don't worry. This new generation, I'll make sure I lead them and erase every trace of that old age and bring about a new golden one in France. Snuffy chuckled softly. Very, very ambitious. I used to be the same way. But remember, you've just entered the world yourself. PXG lined up in their Shido formation. Itoshi Ren was nowhere to be seen, on the bench. The whistle blew. Ubers immediately dropped the ball back to their defensive line. Structure and patience. Control first, Snuffy's voice echoed through their earpieces. Iki Nico received the ball. Shido lunged. He slipped past him effortlessly. Too reckless, he muttered. Then, threading a pass forward. Sendo collected it in the midfield, lifting his head, now looking at what was available. A curved pass right in the perfect space. Isagi moved. Choppa charged in first. Isagi began to slow down, baiting him in. A sharp cut into a feint, and Choppa was gone. But Karasu appeared, staying with him. Silent and calculated. You're not slipping past me, he said calmly. The air began to shift. Isagi's pupils narrowed. Hunger. The predator eye ignited. A step over. Violent and sudden. Isagi exploded past him with speed. and then struck. A goal. The net screamed. Around the world, analysts froze mid-sentence. Isagi thrusted a fist into the sky, looking down at his feet, believing that now is when change would come for him. PXG responds instantly. Zantetsu ignited down the flank, speed tearing into open space. He flicked the ball upward. Shido reacted. A twisted, awkward volley, but it was pure violence. A goal. He laughed maniacally, spinning in place. This is my explosion. Thinking of this, Snuffy was impressed that even Loki could get someone like him under control. But he didn't believe that that was true control. A player like that could run rampant and cause your plan to diminish quickly. The Ubers soon regrouped. Snuffy's voice cracked through their earpieces. Next strategy. Can it? BAROU then took the ball. As something clicked, he surged forward, bulldozing defenders, crushing space beneath his stride. Bow to me, he roared. A thunderous strike would follow. A goal. He leapt into the air, arms wide. I am the king of this field. No one else. All the cameras panned to him, as those around the world who were watching would note that this is very similar to the goal that he had scored in the U20 match. A destructive player like this garnered the attention from all who would watch. Loki glanced at Snuffy. Neither had moved a sub in, even though it was match point for the Ubers. They only watched. Loki began laughing. You know, Charles is unreal at his age. As if summoned, Charles danced through the midfield, taunting defenders and playing freely. He sent the ball forward to Karasu, but then it vanished. A figure emerged, tattooed on the neck, gold teeth flashing. He stole the ball cleanly and spun around Shido. Now in the midfield. All of you, he said lazily, aren't even worth the risk. His eyes suddenly locked on to one player, Isagi. A flashback would happen here. It was nighttime. Isagi trained alone once again, exhausted but driven. A crunch echoed. Don Lorenzo appeared behind him, snacking casually. You're interesting, you know that? He said. On the outside, you don't really look like much. Isagi ignored him. But whatever is in that twisted head of yours, he smiled, that's what makes you dangerous. What do you want? You're still not even close to being the best. Isagi turned to him as these words had caught his attention. There's a world of strikers beyond your imagination, Lorenzo continued. Chasing the big fish won't get you there. He leaned back. You need your own world. Isagi stepped closer, his eyes burning. Lead me to it? No, it's not so much as something I can lead you to, Isagi. Lorenzo then dropped his food to the ground. Now, leaning back, but smiling. It's something that I'll help you create. Back to the match. Lorenzo surged forward with zombie dribbling, taunting defenders effortlessly. He chipped the ball forward and Isagi moved. The predator eye burned. He curved the shot around two defenders, past the keeper's fingertips. A goal. The match was over, and the Ubers won. The team rushed Isagi, cheering and shouting, but he walked past them, straight to Lorenzo, who had grinned, gold teeth gleaming in the lights. Not half bad, kid, he said. Could have been better, though. Isagi smirked. Then I'll surpass even this. And the world watched, uneasy. Yoichi Isagi was truly terrifying on the pitch. Their first victory gave the Ubers clarity. Structure worked. Individuality thrived within it. But Mark Snuffy, he wasn't satisfied just yet. Numbers scrolled endlessly across his monitors. Maps, stamina curves, conversion rates. There's more here. Before the next match, against FC Barcha, Snuffy summoned two players, Yoichi Isagi and Shohei BAROU. The small indoor pitch, tight and unforgiving. No crowd, no noise, no other teammates, just the three of them. Snuffy's voice echoed calmly. One-on-one. No limits. Show me. The ball rolled to the middle. BAROU moved first. His stride was heavier now, more refined, and even more explosive. He powered through Isagi, shoulder to shoulder. You're still too small. He sneered, slamming it into the goal. Again, Snuffy says. Then again. His training slowed. Strength, balance, decisiveness. BAROU looks down upon his brother. You're chasing a crown that you can't bear to wear. Isagi clenched his jaw, breathing steadily. I'm not done yet. 3 minutes. That's all I need. His breathing slowed down. His vision sharpened. The world hollowed out. For some reason, when he tried, through all of his training, he could tap into it. He could open that door once again. Flow. BAROU lunged for the ball, but Isagi slipped past him effortlessly. A feint into a turn, then an immediate goal. BAROU's eyes had widened. What? Isagi smiled, not cocky, almost confident. You won't be able to touch me like this. Another run, another goal. BAROU charged in, missing. He tried to stay with Isagi, but he couldn't. Isagi moved like he already knew the outcome. This is something you can't copy or perceive. You're reacting while I'm deciding. For the next 2 minutes, Isagi was untouchable. BAROU gritted his teeth. This wasn't his same younger brother. He was different when he tapped into flow. Soon the session ended. Both were breathing hard, as Snuffy said he had seen enough. He walked away while saying, impressive, but BAROU remains my logical successor. He had smirked. BAROU didn't want to be, but he was happy he won this exchange. Isagi, though, didn't argue. There was nothing to argue. The results were right in front of him, clear as day. He needed an extra edge to get over his brother. But that would change soon, with his training. Snuffy began to exit the room. On the outside of it, Don Lorenzo leaned against the wall, arms crossed. I respect your call. You know that, he said. But there's a reason that kid's made it this far. Snuffy then met his gaze. BAROU can become more under me. Lorenzo smiled faintly. Maybe. Snuffy then looked back at the door. Which lion will rule over this area? The answer wasn't as clear as he thought just yet. Could it have this much uncertainty? That's exactly what made the Uber so dangerous. Soon, the stadium buzzed with color and noise. Ubers versus FC Barca had kicked off, but on the bench, Mark Snuffy sat, unnervingly calm. Levinho stretched beside him, grinning while also touching a ball with his finger. Don't ignore me like that, old man. Snuffy didn't even turn his head. This match was decided the moment it was announced, and you know that. Levinho laughed. Then entertain yourself watching art. Kickoff. Bachara exploded into motion. Not structure, not discipline, but freedom. Picasso received the ball first. He danced with his feet, dragging the ball with exaggeration and flair. He then slipped it under an Uber's defender, his hips swaying like a street performer. A faint shoulders drop, then a razor-sharp pass. Otoya vanished, then reappeared. Too slow, he would say. The ninja emerged behind the line. He then sprinted down the flank and whipped a low cross. Bachara met it. He's laughing, eyes bridled with joy. Let's make a play then. As he wound up, clang. 2 walls slammed shut. Nico's positioning cut the angle. Lorenzo's long leg jabbed forward, smothering the shot completely. Bachara almost stumbled back. Lorenzo sneered. You aren't even worth my time. With lazy precision, he dragged the ball out of danger and zipped a ground pass straight to Sendo. One touch, he had muttered, and flicked it instantly, as BAROU was already running, thunderously striding forward. The ball bounced once. BAROU's eyes burned. This one's mine. A shadow slipped in. Isagi. He slid between defenders, using BAROU's frame as cover once again. No one saw his movement, not even the keeper, not the back line. BAROU had felt it too late. The ball was already gone. What? Isagi's eyes sharpened, growing with hunger. Now. He then struck the ball. A clean, ruthless shot ripped into the net. A goal. Everyone who was watching erupted. BAROU spun around, fury exploding as he grabbed Isagi's jersey. Stay out of my way. Didn't I already tell you that, you peasant? Isagi didn't even look at him. His eyes were already scanning the field once again. Bartra attacked again, but this time they were crushed. Aiku stepped in with perfect timing, analyzing the play. Shoulder checking Picasso off the ball. Ryu followed, stretching impossibly long to intercept the ball. Stylish defense, don't you think? Aiku grinned and looked upfield, now having the ball. Hey kid, show me some more of that hero magic. He then sent a bouncing pass forward. Isagi sprinted onto it, but BAROU was there. I'll devour you here and now, Isagi. He snarled, and I'll crush you completely. Spain's defenders closed in too. Isagi shot the ball, but it was blocked. The rebound spilled free. BAROU didn't hesitate. He bulldozed through, unleashing a savage strike that tore into the net. Another goal. Snuffy's eyes narrowed. He stared at the two strikers. Instinct versus vision. He wondered how the outcome would truly be. BAROU's edge was so clear at this point. But that slight chance that Isagi may overtake him, that lingered in his mind. But he couldn't see why. Isagi reminded him of another player, but he just couldn't understand who just yet. Levinho clapped his hands. It seems it's my turn. He subbed himself in, and the moment he touched the ball, the atmosphere shifted. He danced, not metaphorically, almost literally. Stepovers blended into spins, then flicks into feints. Defenders lunged and then missed. Even Lorenzo pressed him, teeth flashing gold, but Levinho was already making his final move, twisting away and chipping the ball. It was perfect. A goal. He bowed down and broke into a ridiculous dance as the camera switched on to him. It seems freedom wins today. Isagi closed his eyes. That feeling. Being discarded. The world collapsing. His back against the wall. Knowing that he and BAROU each had a goal. No, he needed more. Victory was right in front of him. He just had to grab it. It all surged back in this very moment. Flow. Lorenzo could feel the shift. And for some reason, Aiku and Nico did too. That's it, he whispered. He's in. The Ubers shifted seamlessly. One-touch passes, snapping like machinery. BAROU read it instantly, knowing that the ball was going to him. Not this time. He sprinted, rage burning, aiming to steal the final pass. But Isagi had already moved. He stopped dead, seeing BAROU, and then instantly cut inside, blitzing him with speed. 3 defenders instantly swarmed him, but Isagi leaped as Nico's pass flew through the air. Go, Isagi! BAROU screamed, his name in anger, frustration, and something deeper. Hatred. Isagi twisted midair, his foot snapping onto the ball. The shot screamed through the air. Not a curve, not a knuckle. A cleaving strike. Straight, merciless, inevitable. Like a blade drawn from a legend. Excalibur Nexus was the name of this shot. The ball split the defense and kissed the post and then buried itself to the back of the net. Silence, then eruption from across the world. Bars, phones, living rooms, stores. People screamed and jumped, staring in disbelief. On the bench, Mark Snuffy was brought to his feet. His data screens in his mind would lag. This wasn't there at all. This isn't predictable. Where was this? How could this be something that he overlooked? Sure, he's seen those moments where Isagi has that burst of something greater, but this was completely controlled. I see, he said quietly. I understand you now, Yoichi Isagi. He smiled. You have something that numbers can't measure. On the field, Isagi exhaled. A true hunger for domination. And the world had felt it. The match echoed through Blue Lock, long after the final whistle. Even Jinpachi Ego was impressed by the results of Isagi. But there was still much more to come. He stood there, before a wall of monitors. Jinpachi Ego and Honori locked eyes on the frozen image of Isagi's final strike. Honori exhaled beside him. He's growing. Too fast. Faster than all the other strikers that were here. Ego chuckled. No, this is exactly on schedule for what I predicted. She turned to him. A system like Mark Snuffy's doesn't suppress Isagi, he continued. It weaponizes him. Discipline sharpens instinct. Structure amplifies his ego. Isagi Yoichi was always going to thrive there. On screen, Isagi's predator eyes glows. This is the striker that I predicted. Although the other ones that I have my eyes on are doing quite well. But I believe he's ahead of the rat race. Days later, far from the pitch, Mark Snuffy sat across Isagi in a quiet room. No holograms, no data, just two players. Snuffy folded his hands. I can no longer deny your results. Isagi didn't react. He waited for the next statement. You will become my successor here. The words hung heavy in the air, knowing that he had already chosen BAROU first, but BAROU went his own path, and that's why his results have been what they are thus far. Sure, he's strong on his own, but Snuffy knows he could have made him much more. But Isagi sees the potential in himself. He's open to learning from others who are above him. Isagi spoke. I accept. Then his eyes sharpened, but on one condition. Snuffy raised an eyebrow. Help me. Help me surpass Julian Loki. Then, help me surpass even Noel Noah. Silence rang through this room. Then, Snuffy began laughing. A genuine laugh, which caught Isagi off guard. But he began to focus a little bit more. Good. A king without ambition is nothing. Remember that. Isagi's world from this point on became brutal. Film study until dawn on players like Messi, Ronaldo, Noah, Loki, even Adam Blake and others from the World 5, and even forgotten legends that no one had talked about anymore. One-on-ones with Snuffy that crushed his stamina. Lorenzo harassing him endlessly, stealing the ball, mocking him, and forcing him to adapt. In one moment, we'd see the two of them. Too slow. Too safe. Again. Are you even trying, Isagi? But the hardest lessons, they weren't physical. Snuffy also made sure to mentor his mind. Football isn't just action, he said. It's decision. Change how you think, and the field changes with you. Isagi absorbed everything. Perspective, timing, control. When the next match was announced, it was Bastion Munchen. Snuffy unveiled the lineup. It was different. BAROU's name wasn't in there. The room would go silent for a moment. Some couldn't believe it, especially BAROU, but no one argued. They understood. This is the King's March. Elsewhere, BAROU walks out of the room, slamming his fist into the wall. Damn you, Isagi. Damn you. His eyes burned. I'll take it all back. I'll kill you on the field if I have to. Absorb all of your ego and keep going forward like I've always planned to. The throne here, It wasn't abandoned, but it was waiting to be seized. Match day comes. The Uber stood across from Germany's team. The air itself felt heavy this time. Michael Kaiser, one of the new Gen 11, stepped forward, smirking. "So you're the one," he said lazily. "The dog everyone's been barking about." Isagi didn't blink, and that annoyed him. "You think you belong here?" he scoffed. "I'll crush you beneath my feet." An arm then draped over Isagi's shoulders. Lorenzo grinned, gold teeth flashing once again. "Sorry, His Majesty really doesn't have any manners." Kaiser's eyes narrowed, and then he saw it. Isagi's gaze, cold and sharp. "I see," Kaiser said quietly. "Come then, I'll end you here." Across the field, Mark Snuffy watched. Destiny had already been set in motion, and somewhere behind them all, a lion, hungrier than ever, awaited his chance to return. High above the pitch, inside the glass-walled box, two masters sat side by side. Noah folded his arms, eyes calm, but sharp. "So," he said at last, "you've chosen Yoichi Isagi. Interesting, to say the least." Mark Snuffy didn't look away from the field. "Yes, I imagine that surprises you, given your history with a certain someone. They often mirror each other, don't you think?" Noah's jaw tightened. "Don't bring up that ghost." Snuffy finally turned, his gaze steady. "Be careful with that way of thinking, because this time, history may end differently." Below them, the whistle blew. Kickoff. Germany's ball. The ball moved clearly, efficiently. No wasted motion. Ness to Grimm, then back to Ness. Kaiser drifted into space, smiling. They're still the same, Isagi thought. This was already on film. He had data on it running through his mind. Perfectly calculated, perfectly predictable. Ness's eyes lit up as he slid the pass. "Kaiser!" But the lane then vanished. A long leg stabbed in. "Hope you didn't forget about me, Michael." Don Lorenzo stripped the ball clean, spinning away with his eerie, loose limb dribble. Kaiser would click his tongue. Lorenzo advanced, humming to himself. Then the ball would slip forward. Isagi received it, with two shadows closing in, Kira and Yukimiya. Kira, again, his eyes had narrowed. "I've been here before. I won't fall apart this time." Thinking back to all those times that Isagi had already defeated him. However, since joining Germany's team, he's grown. He's become a completely different striker, and it'll show right here in this moment. Isagi chopped the ball, but bursted into a sprint. Yukimiya lunged. He was too slow. A sudden spin would lose him as the ball was glued to Isagi's feet. But Kira stayed with them. Metavision. He can see it. He sees Isagi. But Isagi felt him there, a sensation like no other. "He's behind me." And yet, Isagi shifted again one time. This subtle change of angle, body blocking space, Kira didn't even realize he needed. What? He knew? Kira's smaller frame got strained. Isagi then struck the ball. A goal rippled into the net. Kira would stare at the grass. No, that can't be. A flashback happens here. Snuffy was seen standing beside Isagi during training, holograms floating around them. "You already see the game ahead of others," he said. "But your vision as of now, it isn't enough." Isagi clenched his fist. "Then what am I missing?" "Yourself," Snuffy replied. "Expand your awareness until you're a part of the field itself." Something then clicked within his mind. It's almost like he's been doing this, but he didn't realize it. Isagi thought about it for a moment. Lines, angles, intent, actions of players, movements across the field even without the ball. Everything was going on simultaneously. But if he was able to keep track of everything, keep track of every movement, every intention, every possible play, he could create something new inside his mind. This is when he began to understand it. Metavision. Back in the present, Kira shook his head. Focus. Focus. Doubt will kill you faster than any defeat. Germany attacked once again, but this time Kaiser was locked down. Lorenzo smiled. Where you go, I go. With no option, the ball shifted wide, and Kunigami stepped up. His eyes burned. I'll do it myself. Unleashing a cannon shot. The keeper punched it away. A corner kick was given to Germany. Ness jogged to the ball, setting it up and now scanning the field. Kaiser and Kunigami, the main options, their two strongest attackers. This wasn't just a match. Above, Noah and Mark Snuffy had watched in silence. The next moment might truly decide everything. The whistle blew, and Ness began running up to the ball, holding his breath in, standing over it in a slow moment. He thought about it. He has to choose in this moment. Time slowed down for him. His eyes flickered across the box. But then, he decided, of course. Kaiser, he shouted. Kaiser leapt into the air, body twisting. If Lorenzo was going to mark him before he could get a shot off, then he'd just shoot as soon as the ball approached him. Out of nowhere, a loud boom was heard. This is when the ball would just rush forward towards the goal. From it, BAROU was able to just barely tap it. Too low for royalty, he said coldly, heading the ball outside of the box. Kaiser was angered because that shot was more on point than anything. But Iki Nico watched the ball bounce and he was already there. I've got it, he said, surging forward, his eyes sharp. Then he sent the ball wide. Drago. One touch would happen here. Then he snapped it back to the middle, where Sendo waited. Sendo then dragged the ball back, avoiding a defender, then bursted past him. Isagi. The ball zipped in. Isagi opened his body to receive it, and immediately felt the pressure. Kunigami had ran all the way back to his left, and Raichi was crashing in from the right. Snuffy, watching from the bench, had closed his eyes. A flashback would happen once again. Snuffy was thinking in his mind, going back to that time he was teaching Isagi. When defenders understand that you're a threat, he said calmly. The hologram shifted around him. You become a target. Isagi leaned in, listening intensely. They won't always know why, Snuffy continued, but subconsciously, they'll converge on you. So what should I do then? What's my best course of action, especially if I'm surrounded? I always can't bulldoze through everyone. Sure, it works for players like BAROU, but I'm different. Yes, I know that, but different is good. Snuffy's eyes gleamed. I'll make sure that you develop something even greater, a new playstyle, one of a striker who's destined for greatness. A striker who can become the ultimate counter. Back to the match. Isagi dropped the ball back instantly, and Sendo froze for a moment, not expecting it. What? But then instinct kicked in. I've got it. Sendo chipped the ball into space over the defenders. Isagi sprinted, and before it even touched the ground, he volleyed it. But a massive shadow rose to the occasion. Gagamaru. Sorry, Isagi, he said, catching the ball. But that one was obvious for me. Sendo clenched his fists. Damn it, I wasn't ready for that pass. Isagi ran back to him, exhaling. Good, it was perfect. That one's on me. But then he said quietly, I'll make sure I score the next one. Gagamaru hurls the ball forward. Germany surged. Kunigami tried to muscle through, but Kira stepped in. Now. He stripped the ball cleanly, and then slipped in between Nico's reach, taking it for his own and dribbling into open space. The shot screamed past the keeper. A goal. He clenched his fists, believing he had done it. At midfield, Isagi stood silently as the play reset. He wondered how it could be. How could someone let a goal like that go in? But he wouldn't take his frustration out on his team. That one was unpredictable. So, he'll continue to light up the fire within his team. He tapped the ball all the way back to Aiku. "So, this is what you want," he said. "You greedy king." The Uber shifted. Lorenzo pushed up. Aiku joined him. Sendo slid into position. A triangle. 1 touch. 2 touch. Germany scrambled, being caught off guard. Aiku received the final pass and lofted it forward. Isagi tracked it effortlessly, Metavision adapting to every moment. He laughed softly, Kaiser appearing at his shoulder. "What's a king to an emperor?" Isagi stopped dead in his tracks, catching the ball as it dropped, turning back. Perfect balance, perfect spacing. Dominion shot. The strike would end up kissing the top corner. Another goal. Isagi turned, his eyes burning. "An emperor," he said calmly, "doesn't amuse me. I'm the king of kings on the field, after all." Germany soon resets the ball. Ness fed Kaiser. The air shifted. Kaiser launched himself backwards. Kaiser impact. But this time, it was a bicycle kick. The strike detonated into the net. The score was now tied, 2-2. Everyone who was watching around the world was excited. Who knows how this match could end? High above, 2 figures began to step down. Snuffy cracked his neck, and Noah smiled coldly. As they walked onto the field, Snuffy finally spoke. "Shall we give them a helping hand?" Noah got serious. "Shut up. This ends now." The intensity could be felt from all around in each player. For a moment, the world narrowed as Mark Snuffy stepped towards Isagi. "You've done well," he said quietly, his voice cutting clean through the chaos. "Your positioning, your timing, your decisions, they're sharp." Isagi listened and breathed steadily. "But now," he continued, eyes hardening, "good isn't enough. From here on out, I'll need you to play perfect if you want to secure victory." Then, softer but heavier. "And watch Noah closely. Since you're aiming for him, there's no better lesson than standing right in his shadow." Isagi nodded once. "I will." The whistle then blew. Germany moved in first, getting the ball back. And now, the ball flowed between Kaiser and Noah. Seamless, ruthless. 2 powerhouses in different eras linking arms in this moment. They surged forward. Snuffy matched Noah's stride, shoulder for shoulder. But the pass still came his way. Noah received it with his back foot. Isagi then stepped in, doubling him without hesitation, using his metavision to help him adapt. For an instant, their eyes met, and Isagi felt it. A wall. Something he hadn't faced in such a long time. Noah's gaze crushed down upon him as he would say the words, "You haven't even scratched the surface yet." Noah moved. 1 touch dismantled Isagi's angle. Another erased his balance. He slipped down the field. Kaiser. Kaiser then broke free. But no. Kira had appeared. He read it, intercepted it clean. Everyone couldn't believe their eyes, even those watching. Kaiser then spun on him, fury exploding. "You useless! Don't you dare get in my way!" Kira didn't answer. He was already moving, but before he shot, Nico's eyes, they flashed. In this moment, tracking everything on the field, getting overwhelmed, he calmed his mind and was able to do it. Awakening metavision. He slid in, stealing the ball back. "I won't let it end like this." Nico passed it instantly. "Lorenzo!" Lorenzo took it, grinning wildly. "Let's eat then, shall we?" The Uber shifted. Snuffy moved forward. Isagi had mirrored him. A pass, a return. 1 touch, then another followed. Rhythm had sharpened. Noah had stepped in, and Kaiser followed. Isagi's glance once, then baited. He drifted just enough to pull Kaiser off the line. He would lunge. Damn it! It's too late though. Snuffy slipped the ball through an opening, and Isagi was already there. Time began to slow down. This was it. The world held its breath. Isagi struck. A goal. Then silence. For a moment, the whole world didn't know what to do. Then explosions. Across TVs, phones, bars, streets, even shopping malls. One thought echoed. Yoichi Isagi was truly the king of the Ubers. Born from loss, forged in a system, sharpened by ego. Noah watched in silence. Kaiser clenched his fist in agony, and Snuffy smiled with victory. And Isagi stood in midfield, his eyes burning. The king, born from the ashes of Japan, has truly arrived, and the world could no longer look away. The world was still buzzing, but not everyone watched from the same place as stated before. Someone else was still in the background, watching, on a plane ride. Getting off the plane, he was watching the rest of the match. On his phone, this small, dimly lit screen. Itoshi Sai leaned back, arms crossed, eyes sharp. He murmured. Demanding attention like that, and scoring in that fashion. I'm impressed he got past you, Kaiser, especially in such a blatant way. The replay froze on Isagi's final goal. Sai smirked faintly. Interesting. But then his gaze hardened. Alright then, Yoichi Isagi. Come amuse me as well. On the bench, Shohei BAROU sat hunched forward, his fists almost trembling from anger. Why not me? His teeth clenched so hard that they creaked. How can this life be so cruel for someone like me, born with everything? He stared at Isagi. Is he really that far ahead of me? Standing toe-to-toe with the world's best and coming out on top? His breath shook. Damn it all to hell. But deep down, something else worse was burning that made it so that he couldn't look away. His hatred began to fester for his brother. On the pitch, Michael Kaiser watched Isagi from a distance, disbelief etched onto his face. Unbelievable. Someone like that. And he wasn't even New Gen 11. Blue Lock wasn't just producing strikers. It was creating monsters. Kaiser clicked his tongue. What a joke. Yet, his eyes never left Isagi. Isagi didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. As everything flashed onto him, the cameras that were in the room panning down with those around the world being able to look at him and yelling his name, cheering it actually. Only one thing burned between those eyes. Hunger. This isn't enough. He knows deep down that he wouldn't have been able to win without the help of Snuffy. So, he needed to focus even harder. Time passed, training resumed. Isagi lifted until his muscles screamed, studied film until dawn. Noah's pressure, his presence, the way the field bent around him. I want that. Not skill, not frame, not God-given talent to be ambidextrous. No, that kind of gravity, the kind that suffocates opponents just by existing, that's what I'm chasing. Then came the announcement, the final match of the Neo Egoist League. The tunnel, the lights, it all flared. Two teams stepped forward. Italy's Ubers, led by their king, Yoichi Isagi, standing at the front, calm as ever. Across from them, England's Manshine City, the final proving ground in the Neo Egoist League. Everyone was watching, even those who participated in the league themselves, as this was really the final match. And the hunger, yes, it had only just begun. The whistle pierced through the air as the final match began. From the opening moments, it was clear. England was off balance. Their movements lacked sharpness. Their spacing was a fraction just too wide. That fraction was enough to capitalize on. Iki Nico's eyes flared, seeing it all with metavision. Stepping forward, into the passing lane, stealing the ball clean. Sendo! The pass would scrape forward. Sendo didn't even hesitate, one-touching it towards Isagi. Isagi receiving the ball as two figures surged towards him. Chigiri with blazing speed, and Agi with towering power. Isagi's expression though, it didn't change. No tension, no excitement, only inevitability. He glided past Chigiri, cutting inside before the speedster could even commit to the ball. Agi then stepped in. Isagi didn't look at him. The ball then shifted. He twisted his body. A shot detonated off his foot. Raw, devastating force, fused with precision. Excalibur Nexus. A technique reappears once again. The net screamed, and those around the world who were watching exploded with excitement. There it was again. Yoichi Isagi, Japan's true savior, showing why he was chosen by the gods. Ryo's eyes would widen in this moment. What was that? He soon gathered his thoughts, taking charge immediately. Resetting the ball, he carried it forward and released it to Chigiri. Chigiri ran down the sidelines using his speed to get by. Before he could commit to the 44 Panther shot, Aiku slid in, deflecting it. The ball would pop loose. Nagi instinctively traps it. Knowing that he has it, he moves to shoot. But instantly, Aiku steps in the way. However, he's able to flick the ball through. Then, he's open for another shot. However, Aiku was even faster than before, moving to stop him. Not today. Damn, you can just run anywhere, huh? The ball's blocked, and he runs forward. Lorenzo and Sendo link up. Slick passes through the midfield. Ryo could read the play immediately. There. It's gonna land there. He stepped in, but Snuffy smiled. He took the bait. Running towards Isagi, Isagi had crashed into Ryo, bodying him to the ground with ruthless efficiency. While being on the ground, Ryo could only watch, but nothing happened. He was confused in this moment. Maybe he got a concussion from hitting Isagi so hard? Or maybe time was freezing for him right now. But no, this was the hard, cold reality. Isagi stood there with the ball under his cleat. He didn't shoot. He didn't turn back. He let them gather themselves. Stand up already. Everyone who was watching couldn't believe their eyes. Something like this was never done before in a game. Even Snuffy expected Isagi to shoot it. So what was his aim at? Is he insane? 5 defenders, then closed in. The keeper also stepping forward. Isagi exhaled. Time slowed for him. His flow surged, controlled and absolute. In his mind, it's as if he's walking through a door, and on the other side, a white light, a white room he would enter. This was Isagi's flow. Something so different from anyone else. Walking through this room, he realized it had no end. He could only keep going further and further. So he did just that. A king in knightly armor manifested as his aura. He moved, a drag back past one defender. Then, a sudden burst through a collapsing gap. A heel chop to slide between 2 more. A shoulder feint to freeze the keeper into a fake shot, spinning a different way and slamming the ball into the net. Goal. Ryo stared from the ground. He's unstoppable. Across the pitch, something else shifted. Nagi's eyes sharpened. His laziness began to peel away. So this is the level of a striker like that? England began their attack again. The ball found Nagi. Chris Prince leaned forward, excitement blazing. He could sense it. That same feeling as when they played Germany. Snuffy would cut in calmly. Don't get too excited. I still have my best piece on this chessboard. Nagi moved, but Isagi was already there. He had ran back. He stole the ball clean, and Nagi froze, clearly outclassed. Isagi's voice then cut through the chaos. Who do you think you are? The world doesn't wait for people to fall into greatness. It follows those who can create it and then repeat that process. That's how history is made. That's how kings are remembered. Isagi's eyes burned with fury. And I will demonstrate. Nico surged forward. Lorenzo overlapped. The pass went off. 1, then back and forth. 2, then another. 3. The undead army attack tore through England's shape. The final pass reached Isagi. He struck. A goal. The match was over. There was no doubt left. He truly took over the Neo Egoist League, and none could go against it. The king of the Ubers stood alone. The stadium lights began to dim, but the echo of that final whistle refused to fade. The Neo Egoist League was now over, and what remained was judgment. Blue Lock's main hall was silent. Players stood shoulder to shoulder, watching and waiting, eyes fixed on the massive screen above them. No bravado, no trash talk, only anticipation as each person's rank and their current bid would go off. Now, the numbers would truly decide their value. The screen continued to flicker, and names continued to go. First, we'd see, at rank number 15, BAROU, his fist clenched. So that's the distance now? Away from him? Damn it all. Numbers kept going. At number 2 was Itoshi Ren with a 240 million bid. But that was to be expected from his performances. But everyone knew who was above him. At rank 1 with a 300 million bid, Yoichi Isagi. The room exploded. They couldn't believe that number. But Isagi stood still. No smile, no celebration. His arms still folded behind his back, waiting for the next announcement. He looked at his brother. That's when he would turn his head. The distance was clear between the two of them, and BAROU hated every feeling of it. But this wasn't the end of their story. There was much more to come. There was still so much that was unwritten. Jinpachi Ego soon stepped forward, his grin sharp as ever. "Congratulations," he said. "The world is watching you now." The room got quiet. "You forced global attention onto Japan. Scouts, clubs, federations. They're all looking right at this project. Right at you." His eyes locked onto Isagi for a moment, but then back to the rest of the crowd. But don't misunderstand. This was nothing more than an audition. The screen then shifted once again. A new title appears. The U20 World Cup was on the horizon. This is the real battlefield awaiting you, and it must be seized. He spread his arms wide. "Show the world your resolve." Isagi exhaled slowly. The journey? No, it wasn't over. It had only just begun.